Hello again, it's Will. Welcome back to Lucid Dreams, Threads of Eternity. I hope you enjoyed episode 1, Alana Goes Home, of the book A Journey Home. Today, I will be sharing the second episode, The Jinn. So, sit back and relax as we learn about Lira, a quantum astral, the Jinn. The snow globe sat heavy in my palm, with its glycerin yellowed with age and glitter still swirling around that tiny, silent piano. I set it down among the other relics and kept digging through the boxes in the upstairs room of the old Victorian, because stopping meant going home to the echo chamber. Dust coated everything like a second skin. My fingers brushed glass, cool, smooth, heavier than it looked. I pulled it free. A crystal decanter, maybe 8 inches tall, corked with a faceted crystal that caught the slanting afternoon light and threw it back, fractured into many brilliant colors. The body was opaque at first, milky, but when I turned it, the opacity melted into shifting bands of color, emerald bleeding into sapphire, then rose, then gold, like oil on water or the northern lights trapped in glass. I almost put it back. It was just another pretty thing in a dead woman's house. But my thumb brushed the crystal stopper, and for a second, the fractured light looked like the way Alana's eyes caught stage lights when she played, splitting into every color at once. The letter in my wallet felt heavier in that moment, like it was nudging my ribs. Learn to feel people, Will. Start with the small spark. I told myself it was stupid. Still, I slipped the decanter into my jacket pocket like contraband. Something that wasn't entirely hollow had reached out and closed my fingers around it. Down the creaking stairs, out into the kudzu-choked yard, truck waiting. The drive back to Decatur was quiet. Home smelled the same, jasmine ghost and snake musk from the snake room. I set the decanter on the kitchen counter, next to the sink, and ran warm water. No soap, just a soft cloth from the drawer. I rubbed in slow circles, watching the rainbows pulse brighter with each pass. The glass warmed under my palm. The air changed. It thickened, sweet and electric, carrying jasmine, but also something sharper, like ozone after lightning. The kitchen lights dimmed, though the bulbs didn't flicker. I blinked hard. She stood on the other side of the counter. She wasn't smiling at first. For one frozen heartbeat, her eyes flashed like violet lightning, and her gossamer layers snapped tight around her like wings ready to cut. The air tasted of ozone and old blood. I felt the hairs on my arms rise, the way you do when a predator you can't see is deciding whether you're prey. Then she inhaled, slow and deliberate, head tilting as if tasting the room. The killing edge bled out of her posture. Those swirling eyes softened into something almost tender. Grief, she said under her breath, voice dropping half an octave before rising again into wind chimes. Old, deep grief. But not only that, there are still living threads in you, William Shepherd, not entirely hollow. Interesting. She stepped closer, bare feet now definitely not touching the floor. Or maybe they did. The distinction felt optional. Beautiful didn't cover it. She was the kind of beautiful that made you feel the edges of yourself sharpen and blur at the same time. Tall, willowy, skin the color of moonlight on pearl, with faint veins of shifting color beneath. The same spectrum as the decanter. Hair spilled past her waist in waves that moved as if underwater, strands catching starlight even though it was still afternoon outside the window. Her eyes were too large, too deep, the irises swirling violet and gold. She wore something that wasn't like normal clothing, layers of gossamer that flowed and clung, hinting at curves that made my mouth go dry before my brain caught up. I dropped the cloth. It landed with a wet slap. "Hello, William Shepherd," she said. Her voice was soft, layered like distant wind chimes, carrying a warmth that settled straight into the hollow places. "You woke me." I stared. My heart hammered against the letter in my wallet. "This isn't happening." She tilted her head, smiling with gentle amusement. "And yet here we are. Call me Lira, or don't call me. Names are slippery for my kind. Quantum astral if you prefer the long version, bound to the vessel until someone with a true need rubs it the right way." She gestured at the decanter, now glowing softly on the counter. "Congratulations, you qualify." I backed up until my hip hit the fridge. I'm losing it. The house, the decanter, everything. Grief hallucination, classic. Lira's eyes softened. She stepped around the counter, bare feet not quite touching the tile, or maybe they did. The distinction felt optional. Grief, yes. I feel it on you like a second skin. Hollow in places, but not everywhere. There is still a spark in you. I can sense it. She reached out, not quite touching my chest, and warmth bloomed there anyway. May I? I didn't say no. Her fingertips brushed the air above my sternum, and something inside me eased, just enough to breathe. See? She murmured. Not entirely hollow. I swallowed. What are you, really? Genie? Spirit? Some desperate dream my brain cooked up because I can't stand the quiet anymore? She was thinking of the right word to use. Jinn. That's close enough for your language. Older than that, though. We move between the cracks in reality, quantum threads, probabilities, the places where longing is strong enough to tug. I've been in that Decatur for a very long time. Masters come and go. Most wish for wealth, revenge, beauty, boring, predictable. You. She studied me, eyes seeing everything. You haven't wished yet. That's new. The classic line hung in the air. I laughed once, short and rusty. 3 wishes, right? With the usual fine print? And please, call me Will. William is what my mom called me when I was really in trouble. She nodded. A wry smile formed on her lips. Standard restrictions, I'm afraid. I cannot raise the dead, cannot force anyone to love or stop loving, cannot grant more wishes, cannot kill, cannot make you omnipotent, cannot undo the past. The universe has lawyers. Her smile was small, sad. I'm especially sorry about that first one. I feel how much you want it. Alana's name sat on my tongue like a weight I couldn't lift. Instead, I asked the safer questions. How long had she been bound? Centuries, give or take a few wars. What did the world look like to her? Like threads of light, every person a living pulse, every place a crossroads. Did it hurt, being trapped? Only when the master was cruel. Mostly, it was lonely. She answered every one, and each answer made the kitchen feel less like my kitchen and more like some in-between place where the rules bent. Time stretched. The clock on the wall read the same 4:37 for what felt like hours. Outside the window, the sun stayed exactly where it was, golden and indifferent. At some point, I pulled out my wallet, unfolded the letter. My hands shook only a little. This is from her. Alana. She knew about the hollow parts, about how I needed to learn to feel people more. Lira took the paper gently. As she read, a single tear slid down her cheek and evaporated before it reached her jaw, leaving a faint shimmer in the air. She was right, Lira said quietly. The empathy she carried, it's already reaching for you. I can feel it growing. And she hoped it would grow bright in you. She smiled, soft and wondering. Alana understood the conductor's design. The two become one flesh, observer and feeler, bass line and melody, woven so tightly that even death cannot break the cord. I laughed, the sound cracking like old ice. She always said I watched the world like it was a documentary, safe on the other side of the glass. She was the one who felt everything, every stray cat, every sad stranger at her gigs. I just cataloged. Lira's fingers hovered near the letter again. And now the melody is teaching the bass line to sing. Painful work, but necessary. She looked straight through me. Your father's voice is still loud in there. Marines don't care and cowboys don't cry. But the animals knew better even then. The crows that landed on your shoulder when you were 8. The dog that followed you home from school every day, even though you never fed him. Alana heard the same song in you that they did. I had to look away. The kitchen tile suddenly needed serious study. We talked more. Or maybe we didn't talk so much as simply connect. She asked about the snakes, about the garden, about the nights the house felt too big. I told her. She listened the way Alana had, like she was inside the feeling with me. Hope, raw and cautious, pushed up through the grief. Eventually, she stepped back, the glow around her softening. So, Will Shepherd, 3 wishes. Ask. I knew what I wanted, the one impossible thing. The letter in my hand felt alive with it, but I closed my mouth around the words. I'm not wishing, I said. Her eyebrows lifted, starlight hair drifting. Most would have blurted by now. Yeah, well, I set the letter down carefully. My voice came out steadier than I felt. If I use them, you go away, right? Contract fulfilled. And right now, I think I need a friend more than I need miracles. Or maybe I need a friend to help me figure out what the right miracles even are. This, I gestured at the air between us, feels like the first thing that hasn't been empty since she left. I don't want to lose that yet, even if it's not real, even if I wake up tomorrow and it's just me and a dusty decanter. Lira studied me for a long moment. Then she smiled, slow and warm, the kind that reached her swirling eyes. You surprise me, Will, in the best way. She reached out, this time actually touching my arm. Her fingers were warm, solid, real enough, warm enough that I felt it lower, more alive than anything since Alana, before guilt slammed the feeling down. But I must be honest with you. I am bound. At midnight, every night, I must return to the vessel. I cannot emerge again until daybreak, and only if my master invites me. That is the law of my kind. I can only be freed permanently if you use one of your wishes, or if we are united. Like a marriage, a sacred bond. But that would require approval from the singularity, the creator of all that is. It is not a simple thing. The words landed like stones in still water. Midnight. The clock on the wall now read 11:47. I hadn't noticed it moving again. So, if I don't wish, you still have to leave every night? Yes. Her voice was gentle. But I can return each morning when you call. And during the daylight hours, we can be together, as friends, as companions. Whatever you need. We align, Will. I feel it too. You do not have to be alone in the light. Relief and trepidation hit me at the same time. Hope, real, cautious, edged with the fear that any second the colors would fade and I'd be alone again, settled in my chest beside the old grief. They fit together better than I expected. The clock ticked to 11:59. Lyra's form began to soften at the edges, like she was deciding how much reality to borrow. She glanced at the decanter, then back at me. One more thing, I said quickly before she vanished completely. When you're in there, is it dark? Her smile turned wistful, edges already fraying into light. Not dark, just waiting. Like the pause between measures in a song you love. Lonely, though, until the right hand comes back to the keys. As her form began to dissolve, I caught the faintest scent again. Not just jasmine, but something underneath it now, like distant rain on hot stone and the low thrum of a cello string. The same note Alana used to hum when she was thinking about heaven. Then she was gone, folding into light, drawn back into the crystal like mist into a bottle. The decanter glowed once, softly, then went quiet. I stood there in the sudden ordinary kitchen, heart still racing. The clock read 12:01. Outside, the night was full and ordinary and waiting. For the first time since the funeral, I didn't dread the night quite so much. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a small, ridiculous thought flickered. Maybe tomorrow we'd talk about the garden, or the snakes, or the cabin up north that still had her sheet music on the piano. Maybe one day I'd even tell her about the dreams that were starting to feel less like nightmares and more like invitations. I picked up the decanter carefully and carried it to the nightstand beside my bed. I set it where the moonlight would find it and whispered to the empty room, "See you at first light, Lira." I was still broken, still searching, but for the first time since the hospital, life had a shape I could call back in the morning. Okay then, a quantum astral. That ought to spice things up a bit. Looks like Will found a friend. Lira, a Jinn, a beautiful creature from other dimensions. 3 wishes. Where is this leading? In episode 3, The First Wish, we will find out how these wishes work,